All right, well, speaking of Fifth Avenue, what are your thoughts on Trump saying that he has $500 million in cash on hand, despite... he is something. Despite his lawyers claiming that he couldn't post his $454 million bond. Yes, he wants you to know he has the money. He just won't give you the money because it's not fair. It's just not fair.
There is some associate who had plans tonight at some law firm who is instead having to write a memo to the judge about how what they said was true, but also they're sorry that their client went out and said this other. I mean, being Trump's lawyers is the worst job in the country.
In a moment of sharp wit and biting critique, Real Time with Bill Maher turned its attention to Donald Trump's ever-polarizing financial maneuvers. During a lively exchange, Bill Maher and Sarah Isgur dissected Trump's audacious claim of possessing $500 million in cash reserves, juxtaposed against his legal team's insistence that he couldn't post a $454 million bond. This glaring contradiction became the focal point of their discussion, raising questions not just about Trump's financial transparency, but also about the Herculean task faced by his lawyers in managing a client whose public statements often undermine their legal strategy. Maher, with his characteristic irreverence, and Isgur, with her analytical precision, painted a vivid picture of a man whose flair for the dramatic continues to outpace any sense of fiscal accountability. Come, join the discussion with us.
Why do they do it?
Glory. No, he actually just got this guy is the luckiest guy in the world, but Trump Social, it's Trump Social, but Truth Social just got permission to go public.
Right.
And so his stake, because it's a meme stock, a little like GameStop, is worth $3.5 billion right now, and it could go higher if people bid it up.
He definitely made a deal with the devil at
something.
Because he always lucks out on everything.
Yeah.
He has the best enemies. Look at Michael Avenatti. Look at Fani Willis now in Georgia. The best enemies.
Right.
It helps him so much.
And Merrick Garland fucked it all up. He's dithered now we're probably not even going to see any of the trials. He just always lucks his way into everything.
First, Trump's claim of financial strength was framed as a strategic move to project an image of power and stability, regardless of the actual state of his financial obligations. This calculated messaging bolsters his brand as a figure of resilience and success. Second, the panel highlighted the immense challenges faced by his legal team, who must navigate the contradictions between Trump's public statements and their courtroom arguments, often undermined by his impulsive remarks. This tension underscores the complexity of representing such a polarizing and unpredictable client. Finally, the conversation emphasized Trump's ability to turn controversies, such as discrepancies in his financial claims, into opportunities to reinforce his persona as someone who defies the odds and emerges unscathed. Together, these elements illustrate how Trump blurs the lines between fact, strategy, and spectacle, leveraging both legal and public scrutiny to maintain his enduring political brand.
This is for you. The first one is the Department of Justice right to sue Apple for allegedly creating an iPhone monopoly.
Yeah. Right?
Is it right? Yeah, well, the department has joined, I think, 16 states.
I'm aware. It's been a long time coming, and I think they haven't gone after any tech company. And these are big companies, and a lot of companies think they're taking too much fee, and there's no other choice. So
explain it to someone who doesn't give a shit about whether I can.
Well, some people are arguing they just make a great computer, and you want to be part of their system, right? That's one argument for them. And
I thought this was like the messaging is more difficult. Like if you have Android and I have Apple.
I have a mixed marriage.
Yeah,
it can be very challenging to have an Android iPhone marriage. With children, what are they going to have? I don't know.
Just so you know, iPhones.
So what? I mean, maybe I'm just.
Green dot racism
dot.
of our time. That's what people are.
But I never have not been able to get a message through to someone who had a different type of phone, I don't think.
That means you had cell phone reception the whole time instead of Wi-Fi, because the cell phone reception, maybe you can't get,
It's a question of choice. Is it why do we not get choice? And if these companies are too big, eventually it's their choice, not yours. And so they're unaccountable and they can do whatever they want.
But also DOJ has a horrible record on their antitrust suits so far over the last several years, so don't hold your breath.
Sarah, that's because we haven't updated antitrust laws in 100 years. And
Antitrust laws are totally made up. They just say like competition, like we don't have antitrust laws.
They're not defining them correctly in the new modern age. And
how should they be defined?
Lots of ways. It used to be just price and impact. It should be, it's a wider thing. It's really difficult. Amy Klobuchar, Senator Klobuchar wrote a whole book on it. It's so thick that you could kill a poodle if you threw it at it. But
Kara Swisher's argument centers on the importance of fostering innovation and competition, warning that unchecked corporate dominance by tech giants stifles smaller startups and limits consumer choice. She advocates for updated antitrust regulations that create a level playing field, enabling new entrants to thrive. The emphasis on innovation reflects a key tension: how to regulate large tech firms without hindering technological progress or discouraging investment in new ideas. Sarah Isgur brings attention to the darker side of tech monopolies, pointing out how large corporations exploit existing regulatory frameworks to maintain dominance. By leveraging their extensive legal resources, these companies create barriers for competitors and secure advantages that entrench their positions. For example, tech giants often comply with regulations in ways that appear lawful, but ultimately reinforce their monopolistic control, such as through restrictive App Store policies or preferential treatment of their own products.
But, we have to really rethink it. I mean, we would not have cell phones if we didn't break up AT&T. Like, we wouldn't, Standard Oil would still be running things. Giant companies, by their very nature, are unaccountable and get to do what they want, and that's always hurts competition. I'm interested in startups in AI, for example, being able to thrive. And so the whole strength of our country over something like China is that we go from the bottom up, not the top down.
But do you know what made all of those companies so powerful was the government regulations, because they could have the lawyers and the teams to do that the little guys then can't compete. Big companies love all those regulations.
No, there aren't regulations. That's the whole point. Do you know how many regulations there are specifically addressing tech companies? Zero. And the one that does, actually, there is one that's Section 230, which is much debated. It gives them broad immunity. So they can walk down Fifth Avenue and hurt the self-esteem of a teen girl.
The discussion highlights the inadequacy of existing antitrust laws, which were designed to address industrial monopolies like Standard Oil, but fail to account for the complexities of the tech sector. Unlike traditional industries, tech companies dominate markets through platform ecosystems, network effects, and control over digital infrastructure. These dynamics create monopolistic behaviors that are not effectively regulated by laws focused on pricing or market share. The need for modernization is evident, as current legal frameworks are unable to curb practices like platform lock-in or exclusionary control over app ecosystems. Without updated laws, consumers face fewer choices, higher costs, and reduced innovation in critical areas like AI and digital services. At the same time, overregulation risks stifling the very innovation that drives economic growth and technological advancement. Striking the right balance between regulation and fostering innovation is a key challenge for policymakers.
Okay, how do you explain recent polls that suggest men are getting more conservative and women more liberal? Oh, well, duh. It's not a...
I read that, and I asked my 15-year-old daughter, Molly, the question, and right away, without skipping a beat, she said, women are getting too much power, and men don't like that. And I thought about it, and I thought about the abortion ruling in Texas, harder there to get an abortion than anywhere else. Individual counties are now banning women from driving on their roads to leave the state to go get an abortion in New Mexico or someplace where it's legal. The IVF ruling in Alabama, it's not about life, it's about control, and it's about power. And I think that helps to explain some of that divide that we're seeing right now. But it also gives me some hope that women in Texas, across this country, who understand this and are living through it more than anyone else, are going to help lead the comeback against them. So watch out in Texas, watch out across this country.
I don't know. I have 3 boys, and I have to say they're not that way. And it's not because I raise them that way. They get to do whatever they want. But it's a really interesting thing because we talk about this idea, and I think what they want to do is not be jerks, essentially. They're trying to sort of avoid that. And it's really difficult that everyone has to sort of, as you were saying earlier, name themselves. You have to always put labels all over yourself. And I think young people, especially 18 to 25, really just don't want that in lots of ways. Don't want to be told what to do, not necessarily not told what to do, but not define themselves. And I think if we just stopped doing that a lot more, it would be
But
a
you
lot
said
better.
you let them do whatever they want?
Yeah, yeah.
Recent polls indicating a growing ideological divide, men becoming more conservative and women more liberal, sparked a discussion on societal and political dynamics driving this trend. Rourke framed the divide as rooted in power struggles, particularly over women's rights. He argued that restrictive policies, such as abortion bans and other measures affecting women's autonomy, have galvanized many women toward progressive politics, as these issues resonate directly with their lived experiences. Thank you for joining our discussion. If you find this content interesting, please subscribe to the channel to watch more videos.